on 100.7 WMMS.
Through, is it actually a week? Oh, I guess it is. Yeah, it's 7 days. Anybody here take advantage of this? Anybody get print off the Pierogi Week map and just go around and
I have
sucking on
not, but
dumplings?
I wouldn't mind popping into a few spots.
Well, they're all over the place.
Who would have thought that old AC quarter bagel wouldn't enjoy
You don't like starch stuffed in starch.
a noodle pocket filled with mashed potatoes?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Well, but they fill them with all kinds of stuff.
But mashed potatoes are the base.
Well, yeah.
And then they add stuff.
Is that true in all of them?
In my experience, that it's
that's the traditional pierogi.
and then they put stuff into the mashed
noodle
potatoes.
into the mashed potatoes.
Cheese, meat, broccoli. I don't know.
Well, but that's my question too. Is I have to think, as with any other kind of food, where they really, really take their liberties with it. The big pierogi, the pierogi industrial complex, has to be thinking about people like me. You already have the people who like your stuff, right? You're trying to get the people who don't like your stuff, and so that's when they start filling them with other things. And so that's what I wonder. I mean, I've had pierogies before. I've had one, and it was fine.
It's too much.
But my wife loves them. And listen, my grandmother was German, so as a kid, those were the kinds of things she'd make, and I didn't care for it when I was a kid. I had like butter noodles and dumplings and heavy starches, but I know a lot of people very excited about the pierogies. They have a Cleveland Pierogi Week app that you can download and get your fill there. Also, the last couple of things that people have dropped off for me here at the station, they haven't left their name attached, and I'm really that bums me out because I don't know who to properly thank. There was a Heinen's manager before we left for Christmas break who was nice enough to drop off some Lou Malnati's frozen pizzas. I've been spending $30 a pop having these shipped from Chicago, and Heinen's carries them now. And so this particular manager had dropped off a handful of them for me here at the station. I didn't know who to thank. I think eventually that person might have emailed me or something. And I also don't know who to thank for whoever dropped off Crooked Pecker beer for me. Apparently there's a brewery in Chagrin Falls. I'm not hip to like the local breweries and stuff, but there's a brewery in Chagrin Falls called Crooked Pecker. And somebody dropped off some beers for me from there. And so whoever that was, thank you. Obviously, they're toying with the language. Their logo is a woodpecker, of course. They're playing around with Crooked Pecker.
How is he crooked, though?
Did you drink all the beers they got you already?
I did not.
Loser.
But thank you for those.
Is he a crime bird? How is he crooked?
Like a mask? I think they're playing on, using
I know, but I'm saying.
I was going to say, Peroni is already a beer, so that was taken. They had to call it Crooked Pecker. But, yeah, so anyway, thank you. I don't know who dropped it off, and by the way, I would, for people who maybe aren't hip to the ecosystem of a radio station, I would always, and have always, suggested to people that they not drop things off, because things dropped off, even if they have a person's name on them, will get scooped up so quickly. They'll get stolen. They'll get, even in a place like a modern-day radio station where there are far fewer people walking around than there used to be at any given time, somebody will still scoop something up.
And that's why you're going to want to go to Alan's home address in
Which is?
I don't even know it.
None of us have been there.
So thank you, whoever dropped it off. But, and I will, I'll yeah, absolutely. I've never even heard of it. But I didn't realize that there were so many. I know there's a lot of local breweries, but I had never heard of that. But I'm going to burp here. Hold on.
Dude, get it together.
I'm sorry. I've got some sperm news for anybody who's...
Love a good early sperm news.
How's that for a transition?
Mm-hmm.
Japanese silver porn is booming over there. Old people getting into pornography because it's very, very popular in Japan. Now, Japan is very strange when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to depictions of sexuality, when it comes to porn. Pornography is technically illegal in Japan because of us, right?
We did it.
We did it. After World War II, we occupied Japan. And one of the first things we did was we imposed a whole bunch of laws. And one of them was that it made it illegal to make or sell obscene materials. So because of us, if you've ever seen Japanese porn, all the good stuff's pixelated, right? It's censored. So I still don't know why it would be illegal if the stuff you're going there for is pixelated. So it's technically, they're not throwing people in jail for watching it or making it, but it's not something you want to get caught doing in Japan. And so as a result, people who do make it, they censor the hell out of it. But for whatever reason, these articles you read about Japan about how they have a whole generation of young men who aren't dating, aren't having children, they're in their apartments doing God knows what. That silver porn, there might have been a documentary about a year or so ago, or Vice did a thing on this 86-year-old Japanese grandmother who was very popular in pornography. And so there are women in Japan who get into their mid-60s and 70s, and they get into pornography. They just start making porn. There's a woman named Imi Toda who started in her late 50s. She had gotten divorced, and she didn't like her part-time job at the supermarket. And so she started doing pornography. And in Japan, it's called silver porn. Here, I think we call it the GILF market, yeah?
Yeah.
And I don't know how popular that is here. I don't know where GILF shows up when they do the searches, most popular searches. But over in Japan, it's big, big money. And so just imagine, like, if your mother, and strangely enough, families over there seem to be pretty supportive of it, because if you're bringing money in, one of the biggest porn male actors in Japan is a 77-year-old man. And so this woman, has 2 grown daughters, and she consulted with them. She lives with them in Tokyo. And she said, yeah, they were all in favor of it. So even though it's, again, if you've ever seen Japanese pornography, everything's pixelated because it's heavily censored. But they said only a quarter of women who are under 30 in Japan are really a part of the sex industry, whereas a lot more older women. So if that's a thing you're into, maybe dip your toe or any other appendage into the Japanese porno market. The Guinness World Record is still held. The world's oldest porn actor was 83 years old as of a few years ago. He's a Japanese guy. Another woman didn't even make her debut until she was 81. She said that working in porn has been lively and fun.
Good for her.
Yeah, so maybe it's a completely different vibe there, too, when they're producing the pornography. But they say, but it's not an Oedipal thing. I don't know how they can possibly arrive at that. Of course it is.
Like Oedipus?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Oedipal complex. Yeah, they go, it's not because of that. And it's like, well, I mean,
I couldn't tell if you were saying edible. Like people are getting high. And
there's an
wanting to
edible
watch.
complex over there. And,
know.
well, they're always eating sushi or they're getting donuts filled with egg out of the vending machine, something. And they said in Japanese culture, it's almost very similar to this culture. It's almost like women disappear when they reach 50 or 60. And they said that it's one of the very few areas of entertainment where older women can really attract attention. But boy, you want to talk about dudes. I mean, there's young guys doing porno here who are like chomping Viagra because,
you got to put out the content.
You got to perform. Imagine these old dudes, these 77-year-old guys.
Yeah. Do you get ads like that? If you're a girl, like old dudes in your area want to hook up?
It's
that's what
still like young hot moms.
Oh, it's that. See, like that's the one that is. It's like these old ladies want to get banged. They're in your area. Go get them.
Old ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you have sex with an old stranger? They're right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
Well, it's better than having sex with an old woman I know.
You won't last 30 seconds banging this grandma.
Playing this game.
30 seconds.
I decided to start rewatching House from the beginning.
I just started watching House.
It's so
You know,
good.
that's insane.
What?
I'm also watching.
No, you're
House.
not.
Are you really?
Are
Swear
you
to
serious?
God.
Did it like just get added to Hulu or something?
I
'Cause
don't know.
Might have.
I was clicking through and it came up on suggested, and I was like, I haven't seen this since the original run.
Are you on my Hulu? Is that why?
I know I bought my own
Okay.
Hulu.
No, because that I don't know. It's nostalgic for me because like when Gwen and I first started dating, actually when I first started living with her, we had negative $0. We had no money, no cable, no nothing, barely
Yeah.
any heat. But House was on
Fox
all the
8.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would turn it on and it was on like Fox 32 in Chicago. And we watch a lot of House.
So I love it, and I forgot
I'm, like,
how much I love that
Partway
show.
through the first season.
Me
and
too.
It's really good.
Well, and I was like, I think
This is my first watch. I've never watched it.
it's so good.
I've seen like an episode here and there. But
I
I've never-
forgot how much of it I remembered. Like that pilot episode, I remembered everything about it. When the
There's-
teacher goes goofy and they don't know
There's
what's
been
wrong
a
with her.
couple of them that I've seen that I'm like, oh, I've seen this episode 15 times
Yeah.
or whatever. But I bring it up in this conversation because I just watched an episode last night where he's doing his clinic duty and this old woman comes in and she's saying how like for the first time in years I'm like,
Oh yeah, I just watched that one. Yeah.
enjoying colors and listening to music, and I'm in such a good mood, and like I see men like Ashton Kutcher and they have cute butts, and I'm noticing bearded doctors. And
Yeah.
she's like hitting on House, and it turns out she has syphilis, and it's ruining
And it's,
her brain.
and it's destroying her brain, and that's what's making her so happy.
But I'm wondering if that's what's going on in Japan, that these
Yeah.
old ladies all are
Like
rife with
syphilitic?
syphilis.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're lousy with it.
And it's making them crazy, and that's why there's such a demand for old
You might be
ladies.
onto something.
Yeah, she was like 82. We just watched that episode last night, and her son was like, stop talking like this. Like, what are you doing?
And
Yeah, what a great
they
show.
cured the syphilis, so she got just the right amount of brain damage.
Well, no, he wrote her the prescription, and she brought it back. She's like, if these drugs are going to make me stop feeling sexy.
Well, and that's what he tells her.
Yeah.
He's
He's like, your brain is done.
Your brain, yeah. If you take this now, you're going to be just as there's not going to be any more brain damage.
Just as horned up.
Yeah, and you'll be just fine.
It's not lupus. That's the
Never-
running joke with
Yeah.
the
Never
house.
lupus.
It's never lupus.
I don't think I've hit an episode where they've said lupus yet, really.
Then you're coming up on it. Because
Yeah.
I just finished one last night where that was like
Okay.
the main one they were trying to focus on.
That was a show where they really took a minute to get the pacing right because those first few episodes were really slow.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, they're kind of, like any show, like you're
Yeah.
locking into.
You got to develop the,
formula,
characters.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
the first couple were also really bloody. Like the first two
They
or
were
three
bloody and
episodes,
gross, yeah.
they were like showing them cutting into
Yeah.
body parts and stuff like that. And
Oh, well, and they were the first two episodes, and they do stop doing this, but they do a lot of like the Fast and the Furious. Remember when they'd like in the first Fast and Furious when they show the fuel getting injected into the
Yes.
engine?
Yeah.
No,
They
they
were
do
doing
it in
that.
every episode.
They were doing that. Yeah, they do that on House where they're like, and here's the blood, or here's the whatever is destroying the heart right now. And yeah,
They do that in every single. I like that where they like.
It's just funny because that's the comparison that I make. Is like,
Yeah.
this is very Fast and Furious.
It was
right
kind of
now.
the tail end of that MTV editing style, too, because House started in like 03, 04.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And
I was in
so-
high school. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I remember because my high school sweetheart and I. That was one of our shows. We would always watch House, and we would always watch The Sopranos.
And then
'Cause-
you'd play House.
Well, we weren't really. A little here and there, yeah. But those were like our two shows we watched first run. Oh, and The Wire. What a
Wire's
great
great.
time for TV.
Yeah.
House, The Sopranos, and The Wire.
That
all
second,
on, yeah.
that second season of The Wire is hot garbage, but all the other ones are fan-friggin-tastic.
And The Office was in its original run then.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
Oh, it's a brave new world. Hey, I've got
Arrested
$1,000
Development.
here to give you to help pay for Amazon with ads, if you want. It's a grand from the Buzzard Bookie, so listen closely and good luck.
This is your chance to bet with the Buzzard Bookie and win $1,000 now. Enter this nationwide keyword at WMMS.com. Cash. That's cash. Enter it now at WMMS.com.
So yeah, they all have syphilis. I think that's my conclusion as a doctor.
If you're just joining us, they all have syphilis. Alan, I'm going to be at the Cavs game later in the week. Is it cool if I drop Bill's name if I meet Dump Truck? That's not a specific girl, right? I mean, when
she's not going to know who I am.
Okay. You didn't
Because-
introduce yourself when you took a
No.
photo with them? When
No,
we were doing our show for the Cavs home opener at the Romo Fijo, Bill ingratiated himself with some of the Cavs dancers, and he So that one of them had a real dump truck. But I didn't know who that was. And so I don't know what the answer to that would be. Best part of House is Olivia Wilde before she went bat shrimp crazy.
She's not in that until the later seasons.
Later seasons, yeah.
Right now, it's just the Cameron,
Jennifer
Chase,
Morrison and the Australian dude and
Omar Epps.
Omar Epps.
Yeah, it's always funny seeing Omar Epps in that role because I just always know him as the guy that replaced Wesley Snipes in the Major League sequel.
Okay.
Oh, did he
So
really?
he played Willie Mays Hayes in
I
the
never
sequel.
saw that.
And then and then he
I
was
think
in a
of
few
it-
other, like he was in like Love and Basketball and
I
stuff
think
like
of
that.
him from Juice with Tupac.
Yeah,
That's where I think of Omar Epps.
but he's very good on that show. It's a very fun show. I enjoy it. It is kind of gross at times.
It's
though.
triggering,
Yeah.
too. Like, Brian and I are watching it, and everybody's had some kind of a medical emergency, right? And they cover a broad spectrum, but like the one episode, this lady had a blood clot in her leg that went to her lung. And that's actually what Brian's mom passed away from. So we're watching this episode.
At least it's not a COVID episode.
Well, and that's what I said. I was like, if they did this now and I had to watch someone say goodbye to their dad on a Zoom call, like that would kill me. But and then there was another episode where like they're talking about having to pull the plug and like, someone has a DNR and he went through that with his mom, and that was like the last phone call we had with the doctors about my dad, where they're like, we don't know how many times you want us to keep resuscitating him. And it's funny because I'm like, well, this is going to be triggering for probably everyone who watches the show. One of the episodes is going to be something you've experienced, sick kid or lupus or whatever.
It's
it might
never
be,
lupus. Yeah, because you have to think, too, like ER was still on TV then, but it was kind of waning in popularity. So Fox had to be like, we need a show like that. ER was a monster hit, but Clooney was gone. And so they were like, we need a show like that. So there was a few seasons of overlap between those two shows.
Wasn't ER more like soap opera-y, though? Wasn't it more like love stories?
It just had a bigger cast, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of started out that way, and then Clooney split and started doing movies, but, he was a big draw for a while.
Yeah, I think my love of figure mounts started with House because every episode is a puzzle.
But if people didn't know Hugh Laurie, like I love like Blackadder and like Fry and Laurie, like all that old British comedy that he did, nobody knew that he was a British guy because there was almost no situation you'd see him in a movie where he was using his own accent.
101 Dalmatians.
Did not see that.
The live action
like,
one.
Oh yeah,
He was a dad in
Glenn Close. He's one of her henchmen.
Yeah.
He's the dad in Stuart Little.
Yeah.
People didn't know he had a British accent. He's on Veep. Anywho, House. Oh, what a good show. What a fine piece of entertainment.
How far into it are you?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I mean, I'm probably 3/4 of the way through season 1.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think I'm gonna like watch all of House, but it's so weird you mention it because I just go, "Oh, hey, House."
I wonder if they did just add it, and that's why. Because I've been watching it, and like I fell asleep during it, so like I got to go back a few episodes.
Yeah.
Because Hulu just plays them.
Yeah.
It's like we're just gonna go.
I've
Netflix
been-
is like, are you still watching? Hulu's like, we don't care.
Figure it out. You figure out where
Yeah.
you fell asleep.
We're not in charge of your life.
I
like that.
don't know if you guys know this, but I've been very busy in New York City. And I haven't had a ton of downtime. So I
Did
was
you
like,
move or did you?
Well, yeah, halfway.
You haven't been here?
I haven't been. You didn't notice I wasn't in this room?
No, because my monitor's always in the way. I can't see
Right.
Bill. I can't see you.
Right.
Oh, damn it.
The small amount of downtime I've had, I've wanted to just turn on some kind of a show. And I don't have Peacock, so normally my go-to would be The Office. And so, yeah, I pulled up Hulu the other day on my laptop, and I was like, it was the first thing that popped up, and I watched The Mummy, too. Because that, I think,
With
was...
Brendan Fraser?
Yeah, I think that was newly added.
Yeah,
And that's a really good one, too.
that's a great one.
Talk
Yeah.
about another figure 'em out. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Figure them out.
A lot of figure them
Yeah,
outs there.
well, they
on
have
the-
to like look for clues and
Yeah.
treasures and puzzles and stuff.
Are you watching Death and Other Details on Hulu?
No.
That's like a Hercule Poirot type thing, but with Mandy Patinkin.
Louder Milk.
Loudermilk's great.
You're watching that, right?
I watched it first run. It was on AT&T used to have an original programming channel called the Audience Channel, and then that got destroyed, and so Loudermilk was done, and then they just put it on Amazon.
That's
Yeah.
where, okay, because Brian's watching that, and he was like, dude, you'd love this show.
Great show.
He's
It's
like,
a great.
"This is
You
really
would
funny."
like that
Yeah.
show, and it's all about sobriety and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like based in an AA meeting, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy running.
And Brian Regan plays a recovering alcoholic that has a very dirty mouth, and it's very funny.
Oh, yeah, he is on that, isn't he?
Cursing?
Yeah, he curses a lot.
I'm going to have to watch that one.
Yeah.
After House, though. One show at a time.
Alan, fun fact, the name is House because that's the acronym they use at hospitals to signify drug seekers. History of use, House.
But his name is Dr. Gregory House.
Right, but I mean,
he
maybe
also,
he means
he's
the
got
writers.
pills.
Yeah, he's a
and,
pill popper.
there's layers to it.
Oh, that's interesting. If that's true.
A lot of our customers are watching House right now.
It must have just been added. Unless everybody's just rediscovering it at the same
Well,
time.
lucky us. I'm going to break here. If you want to send a text for anything, 35192 to get me there. You can watch at alancoxshow.com, and we'll be back.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7